Good morning. It has been a few days since I've made a post. Um, uh, was it yesterday? Actually, 2 days ago. Uh, I had a kitten that bolted for the door, came back about 10 minutes later, but then took back off real fast um, before I could catch it. And it's been gone for a little bit. So please say a little prayer. Kind of give us an illustration that, and we're going to be talking sports here, but I'm going to talk about this first. That in a nutshell, God gives us a very free will, and we do what we want with it. Or we can choose to obey God, or we can choose to stray away from God. And from my experience, when you obey God and you follow His instructions, which can be found in this book called the Bible. Bible's acronym is Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. We have better things happen. But in all, in my heart of hearts, I feel disappointed that I didn't stop that cat bolting for the door. I could have put my foot out or what have you, and um, but and I just pray that it's in a nice warm place right now and that I get it. But we're going to talk a lot about Detroit sports since I haven't. A lot's happened since I've been on here last. First of all, the Detroit Lions 52-6. When I play Madden, I play against other people and it's a little frustrating. It's hard to make all the right decisions I intercept the ball sometimes and a lot of times I get intercepted, but when I really want to have an easy time, I build my guy up to be 7 foot tall, 280 pounds, give him all the accolades of fast speed, strength, and everything, and catches everything. And I may actually made myself a quarterback. And when I play, I score a touchdown every time. Well, against the uh, Jacksonville Jaguars, who going into the game seem to have a pretty stiff defense, I was told. The Lions scored a touchdown on every play till they got to 52 points, I believe. Henry Hooker comes in, and I really believe he could have scored a touchdown, led the team to a touchdown too. But he got a little bit of playing time in, and 52-6, we got a 54-yard field goal from Jake Bates. And I'm going to go backtrack to this. And anybody that I've talked to, I talked about this well before we signed him. Last year in an NFC championship game, my son and I was watching this 49ers game in the NFC championship. We were actually at a movie theater downtown Casper, Wyoming. That the Frontier that shows the games on that, and I was a little concerned about the quality of on that big of a screen, but it was pretty good quality actually. But as we're watching it, Super Bowl was like for the first time in my life, and I'm 57 years old, was a strong possibility. It's 24-7 at halftime. San Francisco takes about 4 minutes, goes down the field, kicks a field goal. We take about 4 or 5 minutes, go down, and we're at a spot where it would be a 54-yard field goal. It's 4th and 7. And I'm telling my son, kick a field goal, kick a field goal. They go for it. Everybody does their job right. Golf throws a ball that's very catchable. And Josh Reynolds, who made a lot of great catches to help us get to that point, had to bend down a little bit, kind of went to a slide, and it was very catchable. but dropped the ball. I was highly upset. I'm thinking we kick a field goal and San Francisco has to be thinking more than half the third quarter is gone, and we are no closer than that 24-7 halftime score. How deflating that would have been, but it gave them breath, and everything that could happen wrong, that did happen wrong in an NFL, and the Lions proved this against the Texans this year. Tom Brady proved it in the Super Bowl, being down by, I think, 28 in the third quarter. That momentum can make a huge switch. And I didn't know this at the time I was yelling field goal, but obviously Dan Campbell knew it, that our kicker at the time, Michael Badgley, from that distance, 54 yards, was 4 for 20. 4 for 20. The Detroit Lions going for it on 4th and 7 at that time was 14 for 20. So Dan Campbell makes a lot of great choices. That guy, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Being 57 years old, anybody that's my age and has been a Lions fan the whole entire time and has a comedic spirit, they gave us more ammunition to be a comedian than they did a sports fan that could have something to hang their hat on. We've had some great players through the days. Barry Sanders and Dominic Sue. Took me a couple of years to learn how to say his name. Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Chris Spielman, Billy Sims, that I can remember. I used to like this pass rusher, Al Kofer. We had Al Bubba Baker, Benny Blades. We had the number one offense in football for a bit, with Scott Mitchell being the quarterback and Herman Moore. Herman Moore, definitely. Brett Perryman, Barry Sanders, of course. Lomas Brown was a great front offensive lineman. We had some defensive guys like Doug English that was really good. Mel Gray was a great special teams returner. But we've never had anything in my lifetime that has come close to how good this team is. Even though Matthew Stafford and the Lions made it in the playoffs and got robbed, ultimately our coaching decision not going for it, not running the ball on 3rd and 1, and then on top of that, not going for it, regardless of the bogus call that we had on the interference and then failure to give a flag to Des Bryant for running on the field, which would have put us in field goal range. And we've had some good field goal kickers, Jason Hanson, Eddie Murray. But Eddie Murray missed a 42-yarder against San Francisco to advance in the playoffs. So we've had a lot of heartache. We've had some referees give Aaron Rodgers multiple extra chances to beat us, and hats off to Aaron Rodgers. You keep giving those extra chances, you're gonna come through sometimes, aren't you, Aaron? But Kirby Joseph and this new regime started with Sheila. She said once we got rid of Pat Quinn, and we had to find Pat Quinn and what's his name, Brutus from Popeye, the guy that never showed up on time for his meetings, was out of everybody in the whole organization, probably was the least fit. Oh, what's his name? Oh, Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia. What? It's a trial and error thing, but man, Sheila's got it right. She got Chris Spielman in, helped pick out our coach. We got our general manager, and I'm from long fans. I want to personally thank you, Brad Holmes, for being the genius that you are of delegating with all your scouts, working together, and coming up with all the players that you've had. You didn't, if you would listen to us fans, we would be still the same old Lions. And that's the truth. There's not one fan that can prove before Brad made any of his picks that they would have picked the picks that we had. Starting probably with Penei Sewell. See, Brad Holmes, and we can see this wisdom now, thought he had a pretty good quarterback in Jared Goff. He knew he had 2 number 1 picks and a 3rd round pick to go along with him to help build a team. But he believed that Jared Goff has some serious potential. I didn't see it. All I saw really was maybe Goff was good enough to play for a little bit. But I knew that Goff and those 2 number 1 picks and a 3rd round pick was something that you had a chance to build a team with, because we weren't going anywhere with Master Stafford, and that was not his fault. Obviously, he wins a Super Bowl the very first year that he goes there. So that paid off for the Rams, definitely. But that trade helped us out immensely. And Brad Holmes' decision on personnel is it's mind-boggling. Finding Armand St. Brown, I think, in the 5th round. But going back to Penei Sewell, we would have, if it was up to us fans, if we did a poll, we probably would have wanted a quarterback or a wide receiver or something like that, or a defensive end or something like that. But Brad Holmes knew that this Penei Sewell guy, you got to have someone to dominate the front line, to protect your quarterback, to open things up for the run. And before Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell got here, it was insane how many games we didn't have a 100-yard rusher. We had the worst rushing game, period. And on the flip side, we couldn't stop anybody from running on us. So, and you didn't have a problem passing against us either, but it was easier running on us than anything. So, and in a very short time, if you think about it, in 3 years, it took a little while. That first year was rough. Second year started off rough. We finished really strong, missed the playoffs, but that much. And now we're at a team, much like the Pistons with Isaiah. We keep getting better and better every year. We take another step every year. So by the time the Pistons got to the NBA Finals, it took a referee Laimbeer straight up, to make a bogus call against Laimbeer and give Kareem 2 free throws to prolong that series, or else we would have had 3 NBA championships in a row. But the Pistons kept growing through success and then a little bit of setbacks, more success, less setbacks, and then finally winning the championship. And when they won it, they knew how to win, and they won it twice. I see the same thing going on with the Lions. We don't take anybody, and when I say we, It's the Lion. We in the Lions. We don't take anybody lightly. Not Jacksonville. Not anybody. Not Chicago coming up for Thanksgiving. We got 4 days from the next. We play the Colts, and then 4 days later we play Chicago. And we're not overlooking the Colts. We're not overlooking Chicago. We're not overlooking anybody. And going back to what was our downfall in the San Francisco game, where we didn't have an option, for a 54-yard field goal, we now have that kicker. He kicked in the UFL for the Michigan Panthers at Ford Field. And I'm thinking, I've never been so excited about a kicker when I was watching him boot these kicks for the Panthers. I'm like, man, let's take them. I mean, we don't use a kicker because we don't have confidence in him. Give this guy a chance, and we sure have. And they've done perfect with him. They haven't immediately thrown him out there for a 65-yard field goal, which I believe he will make. I believe he will set a record eventually. And who knows? It might be in the Super Bowl when we're up by 20. I don't know. But I think, I love this team. Dan Campbell just has has a way to encourage everybody, and Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, to create the team to have fun, and they all play for each other. I've watched some teams be down at halftime, and there's always that wide receiver that's a superstar with potential that says, "Give me the ball," or what, starts yelling at everybody yells at each other. Not the Lions. Mm-mm. When they were down at halftime to the Texans, they remembered how the 49ers came back at them. And they reversed it. They flat out reversed it and knew it was possible. Just stick together. And the defense just shut Texan down. Once again, and I guarantee you the Texans can say the same thing that we said. Everything that went wrong did go wrong. But man, the Lions, they have us think, I don't want to get ahead of everything, but I've left this door open to try to let my cat back in, but I've had to shut it just recently. It's really frigid out there, but where we're going with the Lions is just insane, and I think so much for the whole organization, the scouts, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, the coaches, and may I encourage Ben Johnson. I thank you for staying these extra 2 years instead of being a head coach, and just understand this. We are different than any other team in the NFL. Kansas City's had a lot of success, and I can see the potential for us having even more. We have so much in place. We have the whole organization. And Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, there's no salary cap for coaching. If you could just stay in your place for 5, 6, 7 years, we may run 4 or 5 titles together right now with this team, the way we're going and the way we're set up. In every draft, we're going to find somebody. Brad Holmes has proven it. And the free agents are going to want to play in Detroit because we take care of our folks. We pay Goff, we pay Sewell, we pay all these players, as Armand St. Brown. And Campbell puts in hard work, and we signed Devarius Smith. And one of the first things Devarius Smith says, we practice hard. Yes, these guys above me right here, Detroit Pistons, the reason why they won so good is that their practices were harder than the games they would play. And if you watch their games, those games weren't easy. So they I wish we had a lot of film on their practices. They beat the tar out of each other. You know, there was Mr. Bill Laimbeer who should be in the Hall of Fame, and I can't get Detroit sports shows. I beg you, like Woodward Sports, I beg you to start right there. Start gathering all the ammunition why Bill Laimbeer should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm gonna scratch the surface on this. This is the Basketball Hall of Fame, and I've said this on other videos, but I'm gonna say this right here. At the time the Pistons came together, Isaiah Thomas was there. By the time Laimbeer was there, Isaiah had been there 2 or 3 years. They were becoming more entertaining. They had Kelly Tripucka, and they were now playing a run and gun basketball team, and they win a lot more games than they used to, but they didn't have a great defense at all. They had Kent Benson in it, and Jack McCloskey, Trader Jack. Once again, there's some parallels here of a champion. Jack McCloskey showed that he knew personnel. He saw a game where the Pistons were beating the Cavaliers by 20. And the hardest playing guy on the court was Bill Laimbeer, playing his heart out. That caught Jack McCloskey's attention. Okay. The case for Bill Laimbeer making Hall of Fame, to me, is as important as anything right now, other than the Detroit Lions winning the Super Bowl for Detroit sports. For him not to be recognized by the Hall of Fame is a travesty, because this guy is as big of turning this city into champions. Of course, the Red Wings won their Stanley Cup, so that I'm not omitting them. But between the Pistons and the Lions, we've had horrible teams up to this. And Laimbeer comes in with a toughness, first of all. And if you look at his full basketball career, he goes to the Final Four in college. So there's a little check for the Hall. Plays 1 year in Italy. You know, there's a lot of European players that they look at what they did. I don't even know his stats back in Italy, but he played there for 1 year. Came to Cleveland, got to Detroit, won a rebounding championship, and that's when Moses Malone was out there. Won 2 NBA championships, and when nobody liked him outside of Detroit, and I mean nobody, he was a 4-time All-Star. Probably should have been a 6 or 7-time All-Star, but once again, not being liked, he was a 4-time All-Star. And if you watch any of those All-Star games that he's in, fundamentally, he rebounds the ball, doesn't play around with it, he gets it out to the outlet pass, sets picks beautifully, drops an outside shot, shoots it beautifully, over 80% free throw shooter. At the time he retired, he was one of only 12 players to have grabbed 10,000 rebounds and scored at least 10,000 points, and he only averaged 11 shots a game for a season. Michael Jordan averaged 11 shots a quarter. Okay. His 3-point percentage was better than the league average at 6'11". He dropped 6 3-pointers in the NBA Finals game against Portland. Okay. He has a winning playoff record against Bird, Magic, and Jordan. You count those, he's a starting center. Not only that, when you got a young guy like Sally that wants to lay on the ground, he's yelling for him to get up. The intangibles. He filled other arenas that hated what, had fun hating him, so he was great for basketball. He's must see. There's people that didn't even care about basketball that want to see the action. And through all those tough games, broken nose, he puts a mask on. He played 685 games in a row. And it would have been even much longer than that had he not had um, that streak was stopped by a 1-game suspension for punching Brad Daugherty. Man, he clobbered him. And outside of all the fights and everything, the guy was over an 80% free throw shooter, shot better than league average from 3 points, set picks, which one of my pet peeves of watching basketball today is the guys go set up a pick, and because they want to shoot the ball so much, they hurry up and they don't even wait for the ball handler to utilize a pick, or the big guys stick their butt out and hit them harder and get a foul on them and kind of ruin the flow. Lambeer didn't do that. I mean, he would set a pick, and and remember, this is Basketball Hall of Fame. Even to today, years and years after he's retired, he's still of only one of 38 people that's ever played the game to still have at least 10,000 points and 10,000 rebounds. He has more points and more rebounds than Willis Reed, who's in the Hall of Fame. Lambeer belongs in. And if that wasn't good enough, he goes and takes the worst WNBA team in the league at the time he takes them over. In his first full year, wins one of the first 3 championships he wins with the Detroit Shock. He goes to New York Liberty, coached there a little bit. Then he goes to Las Vegas and puts that championship in progress. He retires, and the next year they win the championship. But he had him there, had him moving on up like the Jeffersons. Enough about Bill Laimbeer. The last Tyson fight. The more and more I see of this, man, all I know is I'm 57 years old. I'm going to step on a basketball court. I am in nowhere as good shape as Mike Tyson looked and going into, when he got in that ring, he looked like he meant to do business, right? Well, he meant to do business, but not the business we were planning on. He held back so many punches. He could have easily knocked out Jake Paul. What a joke in one sense, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all, Mr. Mike Tyson, but you're tougher than me and you have a lot more money than me today because you followed a script, played WWE wrestling. If we watch wrestling, we don't get mad if Mike Tyson goes in a ring and loses, do we? Because we know it's fake. We hope it's not fake when we watch boxing. And there's only one way to make that less fake. 80% for the winner, 20% for the loser. It's got to be documented. If it's anything less than that, it's a violation. It's fines, it's jail time. People are betting on this stuff. I don't bet I don't bet, period. But I bet when I was in high school on Tommy Hearns to beat Sugar Ray, and that didn't happen. Then I bet on Tommy Hearns to beat Hagler. That didn't happen. So I think I bet with my dad Buster Douglas would beat Vander Holyfield, and he didn't do that either. So when he took that robe off and he was 25 pounds heavier, that was a quick fight. But boxing needs some overhaul, and they need somebody with integrity to change that. I say across the board, we shorten fights. to force more action. There should never be a draw, ever. Okay, so fight 6 rounds, 7 rounds, odd number of rounds, 7 rounds should be able to determine a winner. As each round goes by, judge holds up a scorecard. Everybody knows the score and where they stand in the fight. So when it comes down to the last 2 or 3 rounds, the person that needs a knockout goes for the knockout. The person that doesn't need a knockout can decide to go from there. Maybe it makes some people upset because it's not whatever, but I've watched a lot of fights like Larry Holmes, I believe, convincingly beat Michael Spinks not once but twice and lost both decisions. That right there should change that. And it should be called prize fighting, not, hey, the loser can actually make more than the winner, depending, who the guy that's taking the dive is. Mike Tyson definitely had more clout as a fighter than Jake Paul going into that fight. Now they're Mike Tyson's as big as a scam guy as Jake Paul, but we can change that. Jake Paul, I doubt you. If you really believe you're a good fighter, sign up. 80% goes a winner, 20% goes a loser. In a fight against somebody like uh, Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury, go prove yourself there. Not, you prove that you're a great promoter, I guess, and a storyteller, and you're like a movie producer telling the actor to he dies at the end or something. But anyways, well, that's enough ranting for today. Um, Almost. I'm going to retract a little bit. The Detroit Pistons are 2-0 in their NBA Cup play. I've been kind of laughing at the whole NBA Cup. What's it good for? To me, it'd be more important if the winner of the championship would actually get an automatic berth in the playoffs. To me, that would mean a lot. But I found out I watched the Pistons and I watched LeBron and the Lakers. I love watching LeBron. The guy's an unselfish individual. Gets a lot of hate, of course. As time goes on, everybody forgets that Michael Jordan is not perfect. He won 6 championships, but with a team that had Scottie Pippen, who, without Michael Jordan, during Michael Jordan's minor league baseball pursuit days, still won 53 games. Him and Phil Jackson and the Bulls, without Jordan, won 53 games and went deep in the playoffs. The next year, Michael Jordan comes back towards the end of the year, and they get bounced out by Shaq in Orlando. So everybody that is a GOAT enthusiast for Jordan, name one thing that he's the best at. If you say he's 6-0 in the finals, so is Pippen. You know, 3 of those championships you used a bad boy, Dennis Rodman. So, and one of the years you got bounced, you had a front courtman, Horace Grant, that was part of your first 3. He bounced you. So there's 4 people ahead of you right now, going to be more for most points scored for their careers. So Jordan was the most popular person. I'll give him that. So, obviously he is, because his story keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But with the eye test, I saw Larry Bird be a guy that every game made his team better, rebounded the ball, shot the ball well, passed the ball well, complete player. Could defend the forwards a little, but nobody that I've ever watched basketball could guard everybody on the court like LeBron has. And he's in year 22, and I watched the game just last night. Alley oops, on the spot. Dunks. Dunks. Like outrun everybody and dunk on Markkanen, who's no slouch. He's out there to defend, and they're playing this cup. And I found out during that broadcast, $500,000 goes to each of the winning team's players. I don't know what the runner-up gets or whatnot, but that's what they said, 500,000. And man, the Lakers, they have a guy named Dalton Connect that's a rookie that went off. He had 21 points in the third quarter. And it was amazing. He was just dropping threes after threes after threes. I think he may end up, did he end up with 21 or 24? I don't know. But as I'm watching this, it looked unreal. And then I'm thinking, Isaiah Thomas in the finals on a bum ankle scored 25, which I believe is still a record today. So I tie it all back into Detroit sports, as it should be. The Detroit Pistons are 2-0 in their cup. That'd be really cool if they won the cup, and it'd be a great accomplishment for them. And I love this coach, BJ. We haven't seen enough drafts to kind of give the Brad Holmes anointment to our new GM, but BJ Bickerstaff is a keeper coach, man. We got it. This guy, he's got it together. He knows personnel. I used to scream at the TV about Isaiah Stewart jacking up all the threes and missing them. And he seemed to do it he's got Isaiah Stewart coming off the bench, playing strong. And I'm telling you, Isaiah's impressed me a lot on his play. But it's because of the coaching, directing him in the right direction. Basketball's a little different than football because they got to play both ends of the, Jared Goff doesn't play defense and offense. But everybody on the Pistons has to. And Beasley, first couple games, I'm like, man, he's missing a few. But, man, this guy's got some moxie. Beat Malik Beasley, and he can drop. He's pretty dependable on the threes. We got a lot of good stuff going on with the Pistons. I haven't watched Red Wings, so apologize on that. Don't know anything about them. But maybe I should start. But you guys have a great day, and let's make Bill Laimbeer a Hall of Famer, man. I'd love to hear that speech. I'm sure he would thank Michael Jordan for, losing to him for 3 out of 4 seasons, so he could have something to boast about. No other center can boast about for sure. You guys have a great day.